All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today we're going to try and unlock what Web3 is all about. You hear this term everywhere. People are calling it the next chapter of the internet. So, what's the big deal? Let's dive in. But let me start by asking you something. Have you ever really poured your heart and soul into building something online? Like a social media profile that's just perfect, or a community you've nurtured, maybe a whole portfolio of your creative work. Well, the source material we're looking at today points out this kind of harsh reality that we don't often think about. That feeling of ownership, that sense that this digital space is yours. Turns out, it's mostly an illusion. You're really just playing in someone else's sandbox by their rules. And that feeling, that's where we start to see the cracks. It leads us to this fundamental, kind of hidden problem with the internet we all use every single day. So, what exactly is the problem? Well, it all boils down to one thing: centralized control. A very small number of huge companies own the platforms where we all live our digital lives. They get to make the rules, they get to change the rules, and they hold all our data. For anyone who creates things online, this is a huge deal. I mean, think about it. Your post can just disappear. Your account gets flagged with no real explanation. The algorithm, the all-powerful algorithm, suddenly decides to bury your work. And just like that, the audience and reputation you spent years building can vanish. You might have a voice, sure, but you don't really have the power. So how in the world do we get to this point? To really get it, we need to take a quick look back at how the internet has grown out. You can kind of break it down into these three big phases. You had Web 1 back in the 90s, which was basically a big digital library. You could read stuff, but that was about it. Then came Web 2, the social web we all know, where we could interact and create. But now we're moving into Web 3, which adds a really important new action to the mix: own. And you can really see the evolution here, right? We went from that passive library of Web 1 to this vibrant, sprawling city of Web 2, where literally anyone could become a creator on these gigantic centralized platforms. But, and this is a big but, there's a catch. The source material uses this fantastic analogy. In Web 2, you're basically a renter. Yeah, you can decorate your apartment, you can have friends over, you can make it feel totally yours, but you never forget that at the end of the day, the landlord owns the building, the landlord sets all the rules, and the landlord can evict you whenever they want. Now, that exact problem, the renter problem, is what this whole new idea, this new architecture for the internet, is designed to fix. So let's talk about Web 3. Okay, the most important thing to get is that Web3 isn't just another software update. It is a completely different foundation. It's all built on this idea of decentralization. It uses technologies like blockchain to basically take the power away from those single central companies and give it back to the users and the creators. So let's go back to that analogy for a second. In Web 2, you're spending all your time and energy decorating an apartment that you will never, ever truly control. But in Web 3, the promise is totally different. You're not just decorating the apartment anymore. You own the whole building. You own your work, you own your digital identity, you own your little corner of the internet. Okay, I know, this all sounds pretty cool in theory, but what does it actually look like, in the real world? How does this whole ownership thing even work? Let's imagine an artist. The source calls her Ada. In the Web 2 world, she posts her art online and hopes for likes. But in Web 3, she can turn that art into something called an NFT. Just think of it like a digital certificate that proves she's the owner. It's verifiable. She gets paid the second it sells, and here's the real game changer: she can get royalties automatically every single time that piece of art gets sold to someone else down the line. Or what about online communities? Instead of one person making all the rules, you can have what's called a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization. It's basically a co-op for the internet. There's no single boss. All the members get to vote on big decisions, the rules are totally transparent, and whatever value the community creates gets shared fairly with the people who actually built it. And this idea, this model, it goes way beyond just art and communities. It's already shaking things up in finance with DeFi, that's decentralized finance, and it's changing the game for online gaming and so many other industries. So let's bring it all home. Why does this big shift from just renting your digital life to actually owning it, why does that really matter to you? Because when you boil it all down, Web3 is about one thing: a massive shift in power. It's about moving power away from the few, the giant platforms, and giving it to the many, to us, the users, the creators, the builders. So, takeaway number one, and this is the big one. Web3 gives you the tools to actually truly own your digital stuff, your creations, your data, your identity. It's yours, and you can prove it.
Takeaway number two, this ownership creates systems that are just fairer. They're more transparent. It opens up brand new ways for communities to work together where the rules are clear and everybody actually gets a say.
And finally, takeaway number three. It makes sure that the value you create online comes back to you instead of just getting sucked up by the platform you happen to be using.
I think the source material really nails it with this line. The internet is changing from a city that's controlled by a few powerful landlords into a place where Web3 actually hands you the keys.
And really, that just leaves us with one final thought. The technology's here. The door's open. The keys are right there in your hand. The only question left is, are you going to step inside and claim your space?